Hello, everyone. Hello, my people. I hope all is well. Happy New Day. And I do hope that all of your dreams and your ideas and so on are being realized. Keep pushing. Listen, real accomplishments are not realized overnight. So you have to put in the effort. I've been quite busy for the last few days because I have my businesses outside of um, me being on YouTube. And YouTube is where I come to decompress after a very, very busy day. And the last few days I've been extremely busy. But I still come to YouTube to speak on things that I'm passionate about, issues that I'm passionate about. And I did not want to let this one go because I came upon this story pertaining to this clinician who was offering free advice to black men as it relates to therapy. And I think what she was saying, the gist of it is that she was saying to them to seek help where you can open up and speak about your emotions, speak about your feelings. And it also helps with your emotional intelligence because as a clinician, I would think that her interactions have given her a fair view or a clear view of men, especially black men, because her focus was on black men, not being able to channel their emotions and speak on things that are bothering them, which then transfers into their relationships with women. And she was just advising them to speak to someone, speak to a professional who can guide you in how to, deal with your emotions and acquire emotional intelligence because these things you can teach yourself. Lo and behold, unfortunately, Miss Shabre, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Shabre Rawls, did not anticipate how something so right in her mind could go so wrong because they gave it to her on Twitter and on TikTok. And I think they did that collectively because the tweets and so on that I saw were not only coming from black men. And it is unfortunate. Listen, as a professional and a clinician, she now understands, she now gets it, that speaking on a topic that is so sensitive to a sensitive community of people will no doubt get lost in translation. And that is exactly what happened. Listen, some people believe that they are beyond reproach and no one should say anything to them, especially people who look like them. And I believe this is what happened in this case. I would advise this young lady to give advice to who pays her. Stick to what pays you, ma'am, because you're not going to get any positive feedback from talking to the black community about therapy. I did a video on therapy and how it is seen in the black community. It is taboo. However, there are people who are secretly hoping that they're given the opportunity to speak with someone because they have so much suppressed emotions. And then you get into relationships, and she was speaking on from personal experiences too, because you get into relationships with these men who seem from the exterior to be okay, but when it comes to conflict, then you realize that they lack the capacity to solve conflict in a very conducive way. They cannot cope. They've been carrying around a lot of emotional baggage because of how pressured one feels by the black community to act normal because the thought of seeking therapy is abnormal, especially when you're speaking about black men. And it is such a delusional way of thinking. And also you have to realize that they also do not believe that there's anything wrong with them. How are you going to seek help if you don't think anything is wrong with you? A logical, rational thinking people would be fine, and it would be quite easy for them to absorb and comprehend the message. Unfortunately, the focus was more on the messenger and the way she presented. Just hold a second. Yes, rather than the message. Listen, it became abundantly clear to me a very long time ago that not everyone could be saved. And it is for this reason I've said and will repeat, without fear of contradiction. Whenever necessary, I will repeat that I have become an empath with discernment. I focus on protecting me. I focus on protecting my psyche, which is critical to my existence in a wholesome and very present state of being. And I would encourage you to do the same. Listen, this this woman thought she was doing her good deed and got stung by the venom of the collective of black people. Now she'll differently. Now she'll do things differently. I understand fully that culturally we've been disconnected from, ways to tap into that place in our minds that, may help us to understand who we are and so forth. And sometimes we need a bit of prodding, which comes from therapy. I get that. I totally get it. However, this is unfortunate that they cannot see the message and receive it for what it is. I mean, how could you help or attempt to implant new ways of thinking into someone or a group of people who are not willing to accept it? And then you're going to hear, you listen to men, and you know that there is arrested development in progress when they could vividly remember their first grade girlfriend and the way she rejected them for the taller guy when they went to the dance, or they could remember their first day at school vividly. They could remember exactly what she was wearing, the way she looked at them, the words she uttered that made them feel so insignificant, that has carried into their adult years, that now affecting them with how they communicate with in their platonic and romantic relationships, and even with their homies. There's no way sometimes for them to actually channel their feelings in a rational, logical thinking way. It always leads to something that is not beneficial to them. And this is what she was trying to say. But here again lies the issue. How could you penetrate those walls of denial that are plastered with residual feelings that are left unattended and then manifest in a way that is not a good look, not beneficial? Instead of speaking to a therapist, these men prefer to go complain to their homies who share similar experiences, who have not yet figured out how to rectify or how to resolve their issues. But then you go complain, oh man, she's complaining and she's always fussing, just as the clinician was pointing out. But then you rejected her help. How dare she hit the hammer on the nail? How dare she expose the truth? Because I don't think you're not her patients. So there were no boundaries crossed. She did not violate her oath as a clinician. She was speaking in general. It's like a teacher. So if I'm an educator, I cannot come to a public platform and speak on anything that I'm certified in. That means that I'm talking down to someone. That is such an excuse. That is a cop-out. And people who have an opposing view to your view does not always translate into that person being your enemy. Listen, the reality is that we live in a male-dominated society. And there's this constant need for these men wanting their egos stroked. It is such a thing, and it is also predominant in the black culture, the black communities. I can only speak from that point of view because I have dated black men, and it is true. And there again, this is an opportunity for you to do introspection. When Kevin Samuels said things about black women and the way he presented, he vilified black women and was condescending. However, black men applauded him. And they found merit in everything he said. So there you go, the tables have turned. And now you don't like how it is being presented to you because it is coming from a black woman. I just cannot sometimes. I cannot. Anyway, I think I've had enough of this. I'll leave you to make your own assessment. And as usual, stay safe and be self-aware and be wise. Okay? See you in the next one.